Before we get into today's episode, we just wanted to say that any revenue earned across all platforms is going to be donated to Racing for Delano. We're very lucky that we get lots of young drivers on this show. We've had some incredible guests, and I think the family have done an amazing thing setting up that foundation after a tragic event. And yeah, there'll be a link in the bio for anyone else that wishes to support. And yeah, for Delano.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to Pitstop. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Haven't showered. All right, I'm probably wearing the same clothes I wore yesterday because we were at Silverstone.
Yeah, amazing weekend. Amazing weekend with Heineken.
Massive shout out to them. But we're up early today, guys, because we have another guest on the pod.
We do. Sat right in front of us. Can't wait to get into this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Benavides. Thank you very much, my friend.
Let's go.
Thank you for joining
us. Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. This is honestly, it's a pleasure. I've been following you guys for already almost since your inception. So like dated, let's say, a year and a half ago that you guys started, right?
Yeah,
so
about that, yeah.
About like a year that I've been following you guys.
That's really cool.
Socials. Yeah.
That's
really,
so
really
good
cool
to hear.
content.
I love hearing it from the people we get on because, you know, like we were saying before we start filming, for me and Fabs, this is so much fun. You've just got two best mates filming it, making a show. Yeah. And out of nowhere, we get all these cool people come to our flat, talk about their stories, and we can follow their journey. So we're really lucky that we get people like you on. So thank you for coming. I know you were at Silverstone yesterday. You've literally been racing this weekend, and here we are.
Yeah, it's like literally last night when I was sleeping, I was just reminding myself, oh damn, this morning I was literally in the F2 car racing. Like, yeah, it was definitely a fun weekend. I enjoyed so much Silverstone. The fan base in the UK is mega. Like in the circuit, I think it was a record breaking.
Yeah, it's like over 400,000.
Oh, it was insane. Yeah. 480,000 across the weekend. Yeah.
Melbourne also was quite a lot as well, like around that number. But it was so much people. So pretty exciting.
Do you feel it? Like when you're racing in the car, do you feel that there's like more going on, more people, more hype?
Maybe, perhaps. I mean, not like whilst perhaps we're racing, because it's just the focus that you have to be putting into your work is beyond that. But obviously, when we're done or like when we're going to the formation lap or whatever, like perhaps you can perceive it a little bit, like in the subconscious. But then once you're actually focused in you know the racing itself, then not really. But yeah, maybe like when you're going to our secondary pits.
Yeah, we were there this weekend as well. We were in the F2 pit lane this weekend.
Yeah, we did.
You guys did go?
Yeah, we went in for a bit.
Snuck in. Yeah.
Oh damn! Because I talked to you about inviting you over. I'm just sorry, I just couldn't.
No, it's fine, man. It's fine. We managed to sneak in.
Yeah. Because with my team at least, I always have to like ask them prior to the race weekend how many guests I'm gonna have and how many passes they're gonna give me.
Yeah.
And maximum always is 3. But we always get extra because like my teammate usually doesn't like maximize the passes that he needs. So like I always have around 5 or 6, but most of them go to my sponsors basically, which is the AX Investment Group. So it's
repping the t-shirt today. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, hold them dearly always.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of people want them Silverstone tickets. So
yeah,
I completely understand. But no, thank you very much for trying.
Get them. With
Clem.
Yeah,
with Trident. I don't know if we should have name dropped him there. I don't know. Maybe we'll bleep that. I think we're going to bleep that.
No, it's all right. I mean, my reaction. I mean, I've always had an okay regard for him. Just this weekend, you maybe messed my races a bit.
Oh, was it Clem that you had a bit of a run-in with?
Saturday in the sprint race. I don't know what happened. He basically took me out.
Oh no, Clem.
Bro,
what are you doing?
Yeah, nah, man. I mean, it's a circumstance where you get a weekend almost semi-ruined, you know, because there's 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday is ruined. So it's 30%, 33% of the weekend that I wasn't able to drive because of basically one guy.
Yep.
And then the last day, Sunday, part of it was also, you know, a bit affected by somebody that was I don't know, doing some inconsistent stuff with that he himself has, you know, shown. Yeah. And to me, you know, this year is like, I feel like my whole life has brought me to this moment in the grand scheme of racing. That's my background, you know what I mean? Like, there's no other meaning to my life, basically. It's an existential topic for me, the racing. And it's a blessing that I'm in Formula 2 because basically where I stand at the moment is my family always let's say brought up capital as my racing basically was continued, you know what I mean? Like
right.
It's not like we had the cash, you know, since day one. It's been, there was first the dream of doing karting, then we had my family, you know, went alongside me and supported the idea, and they raised cash for that, and then it was okay, let's try to get into any single seater championship, and then somehow he was able, my dad basically was able to bring to make a business opportunity work, and he was able to raise the cash basically.
Yep.
And that's literally, it's been step by step, and it's not like it's been there, the financial support. It's been brought up.
Yeah.
As the dream is continued.
As it's progressed.
That's what we really want to touch on today, because you know we saw the TikTok video that you put out, which was like, you know, it's quite emotional. And I know that you want to ask a lot of questions about that side of it.
I saw that TikTok video and I thought it was incredible because from a viewer's point of view, a lot of the time you'd have no idea what's going on in the head of a driver or like what's going on in their life off track. You know, from a lot of fans that watch it will just see a table of points, follow the people at the top, and that's who they talk about. But when, you know...
it seems like a high life, you know, being a racing driver. You don't see the struggles that you guys have, you know.
Technically it is, but yeah.
And then when I saw the TikTok, like, it's emotional. Like, hearing you write about it and you say, you know, how the pressures that are currently on you and how you feel. And I wanted to just talk to you about it today and firsthand, like, just understand what's currently going on in your world and where you're at.
The general approach of a racing driver and what they do, it may seem as if it's the high life, for sure, and that's like that's the status quo, like that's the average racing driver, that's their background, they're coming from high society, basically. Because of how expensive the sport is, right? But I never really saw it like that. I was first a swimmer. I was living in Guatemala.
Because your dad is an Olympic swimmer, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll just briefly say my story then. I was born in the U.S., but my dad is from Guatemala. My mom is from Colombia.
Cool.
And I moved to Guatemala when I was 10. Basically, my family had a situation where my dad he basically went bankrupt and he had moved to Guatemala. So I was living there the first like 2 years and in not the greatest of financial states, but where I actually moved to Guatemala, I was actually never into racing before. So like, as I only got into racing once I was in Guatemala, and after like a year and a half, and the house that we moved into, actually we were neighbors to basically a race circuit. It was next to a track.
Wow.
Yeah, but it wasn't an actual track. It was just a quarter of a mile. You know, the quarter of a mile racing. So like, it's just, what is it called?
Is that just a small go-kart track?
No, quarter of a mile is drag racing. You know, a drag race.
Just a straight.
Just a straight. But there was sometimes people doing karting there because, so it's a straight, but then once the cars does the drag racing, they go down the straight, they have to have like the road to come back to the start of the so basically the paved road to go to the back was like, let's say, the circuit. There was like 3 corners in it, and then in the straight they would put like cones, so like to make an S, and then that was your track, you know. It was like freaking 30-second track. But
I read that you got into karting through YouTube. Is that right?
Well, more professionally. Initially, like the real inception of how I literally got into motorsport was that.
Yeah.
When I moved to Guatemala, next door to where I was living, like we were neighboring that track, basically. And that's how I would go. I remember I would like play with a friend that I had there, and my neighbor, and I would be on the roof of my of that house, and I would literally see the carts driving, and I'd be like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" Like I'd see it like an absolute dream to even like try one out.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, literally, we couldn't afford. Basically, even school in Guatemala was being something
and how old
tough
were
in
you
that
here?
moment.
It was about 10 here.
Yeah, I was about 11.
See, that's crazy because
10,
a lot of
11.
the people that are currently on your grid that you're competing with probably would have like won world championships in karting by age
Or
of 11.
started karting when they were like 5 or 6, which I
And you
think is
hadn't
nuts.
even got
By
in
the way.
one.
I think that's crazy.
Not necessarily. I mean, every story is different. For example, Victor Martins, he started quite late as well. He was a gymnastic. I don't know how you.
He was a
Was
gymnast.
A gymnast, yeah.
What
Yeah,
did he
was-
do?
Wow.
Do you know what gymnastics? Do you know?
Yeah, no, I think he was like a champion in gymnastics as well, and there's
know
everybody has a different story.
That's
Some people
crazy.
start earlier than others, but that's when I initially like, wow, I want to get into karting.
Yeah.
But obviously in that moment though, we not even close to financially being able to support it. Imagine like the from where I started and the financial backing that we could have had where I started to now and the levels that I've gone through. It's like it's insane to believe that was where the inception was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's how it started, and I'd tell my dad every single time that I'd see it, like Stewie, I call him Stewie, it's my dad. Yeah, you see the carts over there and whatnot, and he was catching on to this passion that I was starting to get over these carts and looking at them in this track, and then eventually, like a year after, for Christmas, I literally just woke up and went downstairs, and there was a small 60 cart, like the mini cart.
Oh wow!
That he literally bought for Christmas.
No.
But it was like a really, really old dated go-kart. It was like from the 90s. It was
That's still sick though.
I bet
that
But
still
you had
meant
a
so
car.
much to you.
yeah. In Guatemala, that's like those were the carts that were around anyways.
Yeah.
It's not like you could. They were in like for sale modern carts, and in Guatemala, the level of karting and the level of
I rate that though. I rate that you didn't start with like the best gear or anything like that.
Yeah,
you really had to work your way up.
I'm pretty sure I have a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have photos of it. I
Show
can
us
you
after, then
guys.
we can drop
Okay.
it in over,
Yeah,
over
we'll
the
put it
pod.
in.
Yeah,
once,
that'd be cool. Yeah, so that's how initially I started, and but I was mainly a swimmer as well. So when I was living in the U.S., ever since I can remember, ever since I have memory, or before I have memory, I was a swimmer because my dad was an Olympic swimmer.
Right. So did he want you to go in that direction in the beginning?
Initially,
a lot cheaper than
a lot
racing?
cheaper, of course. Yeah.
Swimming trunks don't cost quite as much as a go-kart.
Yeah, not even. Yeah. Oh my god. Let alone
Poor
just like
dad,
the
man.
tires. Imagine like you have to get into a race here in Europe, and just the tires cost like the whole setup of a swimmer, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, how much do kart tires cost at that level?
Bro, like 200 quid for like a set of tires. Yeah,
Yeah.
tires.
Wow.
And it's all for nothing because you crash in T1 and then you get a hole in them and that's it.
Yeah.
So imagine this is the levels. So yeah, I was initially a swimmer because also my older brother, my dad, he brought him up through that path as well. And he would have wanted me to do that as well. And like I said, ever since I can remember, I was doing that.
So your brother's a swimmer, you say? So.
As well,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
Both my dad and brother Olympic swimmers.
Oh, man.
So I was brought up like mega disciplined swimming in my household, you know. So the discipline in terms of sporting background that I was brought up into was really there. It's an athlete type of childhood.
Yep.
In terms of swimming. So karting was more just like a hobby. Like I would do it every once in a while when we could, basically, but mainly it was just swimming, and it was literally like that, but it was a slow process until like when I was 15. So imagine we're talking about 4 years of a slow process of me getting even more and more and more into this side hobby that I loved anyways. Like I was, and that's the time where I was like becoming into YouTube, like becoming a total fan of karting and Formula One, and just getting into the sport, but from the sidelines, because anyways, it was unimaginable to ever, become a Formula 2 driver, become a Formula 1 driver, not even karting in Europe. Like that was the level of my
Bro, I got to say, you're giving me goosebumps. Like, just to hear your story, like, how much of a dream it is. I've literally got my legs.
It's cool because, like, you know, I know people in Europe that, let's say, they don't have the budget to start, but it's just my story can, you know, represent that if there is a will and it's joined with love with your family and there's that joint sacrifice and joint dream and faith, it could happen, you know. Not necessarily it's impossible. So
yeah. No, that's great.
So and then there was 5 years of this slow transition into wanting to actually dedicate myself into it. And once my dad was actually, you know, being more successful in his business operations, let's say, we then started to get the opportunity of the idea of moving to Europe and doing karting. And as soon as that, you know, was coming up, I was like, okay, maybe swimming can
can put it on the back foot.
Because it's not what I, you know, naturally aspired to do. Like I because it was suffering, you know. Swimming is something that the only nice thing about swimming is when you're in the competition, you know, you're preparing the nerves of going and doing your 100 meters freestyle or butterfly, and that's the only nice part. The nerves, the competing edge that you then have to have when you're, you know, the last bit of the event and you can't feel your legs and all that acid. What is it called? The acid. Lactic acid is in your muscle. You can't feel shit. You're about to fucking, you know, pass out. Sorry for the language.
Yeah, no, fuck it. Go for it. We don't give a shit.
We don't give a shit. And that's the nice bit about swimming, which is the competing part. But that's what I only liked. I didn't really enjoy, which in, let's say, philosophical terms, now that I've grown, perhaps isn't the best way, but because I was a kid, naturally when you're a kid you don't want to do things that you don't enjoy, which is the practice part, which is the suffering part. That's the bit that I didn't really enjoy from swimming. But what I did enjoy obviously was the competing edge. I'm a natural competitor, probably because I was brought up since I was so young as a swimmer, like, you know, and I only wanted to win because that's what was being transferred to me by my dad. Because he was the winner, he was an Olympic swimmer, so I had to then, you know, live up to that shit. You know what I mean?
But isn't it the same in Formula 2? Like the kind of the training that you have to do. Is that do you liken that to what it was like with swimming?
I think I'm even doing it more. So before I was doing it, swimming, I was sacrificing myself unwillingly, let's say. But I was doing it regardless. And when I was younger, and I wasn't enjoying it. But now, on the other hand, that I'm older and I just have to prepare for Formula 2 racing. I'm sacrificing myself even more than I was doing back then when I was doing like 4 hours a day, almost like 6 to 8 kilometers, which I don't know is a day in the swimming practice. So yeah, I'm like now I'm literally, because I'm free most of the time. Unless I'm preparing in the simulator doing iRacing, I'm then in the gym or swimming as well. Like again, 4 hours a day. Like even before, let's say I was putting 4 hours a day or 3 hours a day unwillingly. Now I'm putting maybe perhaps more hours and willingly.
But you want to be there, like you want to be doing that shit. And swimming is part of your workout for driving.
I have to be honest with you guys. Maybe swimming not so much. Maybe I have a fucking backbone with that. I don't. That's not. Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, it's mainly running and like perhaps I do cycling sometimes. Sometimes I do swimming, but I still have that fucking tick of not wanting to get inside the cold water. That I had to go through every day. So
so you're not into your ice bath before a race or anything like that?
I actually do that.
You do?
In the morning.
That sounds
showers.
like torture to me, man.
How long have you done that? Is it like a thing you've done for a while?
I actually started just this year.
Okay. Because you did it for a while, didn't you?
I took a cold shower yesterday because there was no hot water in the place that we were staying, bro. And I was like shivering like a dog under the floor. So ice bath would not be for me.
The worst thing that I do as well, because I can't just like jump in and it's cold water and then I'm there like 2 minutes clean and everything. That's it. No, I have to first, go with the hot water. Okay, I'm cleaning everything. And then the last minute, I do cold water.
Smash it,
Which I don't know if it's worse. Because if you initially start with the cold water, then you're getting used to it at the beginning. And then, like, you're fine. And then you just finish off like that.
I think the way you do it's better. I think what you do is better.
I mean, better in the sense that it's more comforting, or better in the sense that
I think because when you get in the shower, you can like chill and be a bit relaxed in hot water. But then once you're getting out,
and then you have to pay the price even harder.
Yeah.
But I think anyone who takes a cold shower willingly is a psychopath. Like a shower for me is I go in and I'm zenning out.
My music's on.
I'm blissed. Yeah.
I'm not gonna show this podcast then to my mom. She's a psycho then.
Oh, she loves a cold shower.
She only does cold shower even in winter.
I'm so sorry, Mum. I didn't mean it.
So then I moved to Spain and I started racing in like I told you before the podcast, there was a coach that was like, he came up to us and he was basically selling his services, and his name is Felix Portero, and I started with him basically in karting the first year, which was 2017. So I was around 16 basically, 15 turning to 16 because I'm born in, 15 turning to 16. And I did 1 year of racing in Spain, so Spanish level races. But at the end of that year, I already moved because I parted ways with him, and I moved into not only racing in Spain, but I moved into a couple races in Europe, and the WSK. It's called WSK. I don't know if you guys have seen those races.
Is that World Series Karting?
World Series Karting,
Oh
exactly.
my
Ooh,
God, that was unbelievable.
damn.
Had no idea. I just guessed WSK.
Yeah. There's no way you guessed that. Damn.
Bro, he was Googling last night, I know.
Yeah, no. But so it was at the end of 2017 I did some WSK races. It went well for me. I had a podium. And it was crazy for me to have a podium because 5 years before that is when I started my complete fanatic what do you call it? Fanatic stage of my life of watching these WSK races. The commentator Ian Silvestrin, which I don't know if you guys know him, but he's basically a commentator of all of these WSK. He's commented, everybody that's in Formula 2 and even in Formula 1. He was commenting Oscar Piastri, Logan, Felipe Drugovich. Like
in karting.
Oh, that's a lot of names off our board.
That's
like for example, cool. It was a cool insight in my story. For example, I was literally a fan first, probably of people like Logan Sargeant, Felipe Drugovich, Oscar Piastri.
Right.
When I was in Guatemala watching the karting races. Like,
wait, so how old are you?
I'm 21. Sorry.
21. So how old's Felipe? You must be like 24.
Like my age. No, he's like 22.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Like,
so
even
you were like a fan of these guys.
Logan Sargeant. But I was a fan of them because I was in Guatemala. So before I moved to Europe, obviously, when I was in Guatemala, like when I was 12, I was watching the karting races, and for me that was like freaking top notch level, right? Yeah. That was like the pinnacle of karting, and I was a fan of karting in that moment. I was like even though it was newbie, rookie level, but I was still like a complete fan of it. And when I would really like look up to higher level of karting races, that was obviously here in Europe, and the protagonists were, people like Sargeant, that he was world champion in 2016 or 2015. Drugovich, that he was also racing alongside him. All these drivers, even the ones that I'm in Formula 2 now.
Yeah.
I was literally a fan first of them. Even like, it's I told this story to Logan when I did a F3 test with him in Valencia in 2021. That was the first time I met him. I told him, you know what, bro? Actually, because we were in the debrief with the team, I'll tell you a quick story, funny story. You were like, let's say, first my idol, rather than like a Formula 1 driver in my racing career. Like, I literally had him in my wallpaper of my phone, and I was even thinking of doing like a poster and putting it in my room. And to that extent, I was a fan of him. I never really did it when I was younger because but I actually wanted. I would have wanted to do it. That's how that's the level of admiration that I had towards him, because he was American. He had just won the world championship, and I was like, nobody back then in Guatemala.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then when I moved, like I said, when I was then finally there, and I was racing in these WSK races, and I had my first podium, and the commentator, that was like for me, my total, like inspiration, because also the commentator, right? Like I just loved his entertaining skills and his commentating skills.
Yeah, the energy
gave me goosebumps. Yeah. It's like when kids are watching Formula One races and the commentator gives them goosebumps. So for me as well, karting commentator was giving me goosebumps. And imagine out of nowhere, boom, you get him commentating your first podium.
Yeah, that's,
you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Yeah. We have Crofty doing it for Sky, David Croft, and I don't know if you've heard his commentary, but he's amazing. He's amazing.
And we had him on the show. Great guy.
Yeah. Of course, I saw it. It was lights out and away we go.
Yeah.
That was like really viral on TikTok.
Yeah,
on our pod?
Yeah.
It
was like the most viral one, I think.
Yeah, I don't think
it did go really big.
Yeah, we kind of fished for it. We're like, we really would love you to say it.
Yeah, he was really kind to do that as well.
Good sport, man. Yeah.
That was good clout management.
We tried.
It was Fab's idea. Fab takes the credit.
We tried.
And I got the podium, and that was awesome. That was legit, and like my dream was already coming true. And then from then on, it's just been, you know, moving up the ladder in the ranks. Like I said, obviously for every single season, at the start of it, my family, we never had like the money. It was like I said, it's been hand on hand, like. Hand with hand, bringing up the cash as the necessity, you know, arose basically. So so 2018 again did more karting races. Obviously, it was that year also was a financial struggle. Like I said, it was this year this next race we don't have the cash for it. Perhaps we're not going to do this race, but then the next race we can. So also, let's say my the amount of races that I could also get into these years when I was doing karting was also limited, but still I was doing them, and it went well. I was already at the European Championship level, like proper, like within the top 10.
Was it limited how many races you did? Because doesn't it cost so much money to go to a certain race? Don't you have? It's expensive. You don't like pay a ticket, do you? Don't you pay per race or something?
So you pay to the team. Usually you can have like a contract, and you'd be like, okay, I'm a BRLR or Tony Kart driver for this season, and then you have like, you know, on the calendar what are the races that you're going to be going into.
Okay.
And this is like the best way to do it. This is the proper way, because then you're actually with a team, and then they know that you're going to be with them the whole year, and politically speaking as well, you can have better material basically.
Yeah.
Like you know, the relationship then you have with the motorist. They know you. They know you're going to be there the whole year. They know that you have the budget. You already paid up front, you know, the proper amount that they wanted, that they asked for. So that's like the proper way to get into a year of karting, a season of karting. Otherwise, it's like you pay per race, which was what we were doing, and then still it's really expensive. Like a race in the shifter class where I was racing in, like per race could be like 8K, which is. In that moment, was like, yeah.
And how many races per year or season?
2018, for example, might have done, let's say, like 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough money. That's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
For karting, it's very expensive.
Out of just like that, and that's like because we weren't paying full price, in the sense that because the team that I was with, like we could also after my first year with them, like my first events, I was already on the podium. I was like, you know, top 3 of their driver lineup out of the 10 drivers that they had immediately. So that was like, damn, that was also to my merit. It was pretty cool that. And that was also something that then allowed me to, and my family, to like get better deals with them per race that we'd go through. So instead of paying full price, we just, you know, more on to what it actually costed. Right. So, but yeah, it was still really expensive. And yeah, that was 2018. But then 2019, like a miracle happened. My dad had a really good business opportunity. He basically made proper cash 2019. Not enough to do an actual... so what I did in 2019, I was really quite old already. I was 17. But I went into Formula Renault.
Got it,
Which in a normal driving career, let's say normal in the sense as Oscar Piastri, Felipe Drugovich, Logan Sargeant, I'm saying these names because they're on the fastest lap leaderboard, but the average Joe racing driver that's coming with a good, promising racing career, they don't go directly into a championship like Formula Renault, which is now Formula Regional. Right. Drivers usually go through Formula 4, you know, preseason testing, Formula 4, maybe 1 year, 2 seasons Formula 4, and then they move into season, a championship like Formula Renault, or which is now Formula Regional.
So what is the cost of like Formula Renault? How much does that cost
Formula
for a
Renault. So that year, my dad, he like I said, he earned cash with his business, and but like I said, it wasn't enough for the whole 2019 season. It was enough to just like to enter and let's say, okay, we can do the down payment on half the season. So that's what we did, contractually speaking, and I don't know if I should be saying this or not on the.
We can cut whatever we need.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like politically speaking, I should be saying it, but
I think you're safe, judging. We've had this conversation with a few other people, and we spoke about like how much is an F4 seat, F3 seat, F2, so
all right.
I think you're safe.
Okay, so it wasn't enough. So what would be enough? The budget, following your question, is around, let's say, from a Renault, from the regional, and I was like $500,000 basically, which is a lot.
Big step up from go-karting, eh?
Yeah. So much for a level which, even though it's part of the Formula Series, it's still, quite low compared to F1.
Yeah, exactly.
And it costs that much money. That's
even
mad.
quite low compared to, imagine the amount of coverage that they get compared to even F3, F3.
Yeah, well,
right?
You don't really.
Yeah,
it's
not
it's
really.
Never,
Nobody really knows it.
Like at least F3 and F2 is on the same calendar as F1. You can watch it on the same weekend.
Yeah, that's the only thing that gives it a lot more coverage. Yeah, but then Formula Championships, like Formula Regional, they're still quite expensive. But because ultimately, the level in it, they're the same teams. It's the same kind of racing. Maybe just the car is a bit slower and whatnot. But it's really just the same thing. Because then the driver that won that championship, boom, goes to F3, and then he's winning in that championship as well, the F3 championship. So like for example, like Oscar Piastri did. He won the Formula Renault that year in 2019 when I was racing, and then the next year in 2020 he won with Prema. Yeah, in 2019.
Is he good? Like how? Because a lot of people, I think he's unbelievable.
I have a funny story with him, and I think maybe you can clip this in.
Yeah, we'll make a good clip.
Yes. If following your question, if he's good, I know that year he did well, but I do have a memory with him that we were in Budapest, Hungary, around 7 or around 6 of Formula Renault, and we were on the not even the formation lap, the lap to the grid. So, before the formation, we were on the lap to the grid. It was raining, and he was just in front of me. I was driving just behind him. We're all driving slow. It was like raining quite hard, and it was aquaplaning. So it was like super slippery, just so much standing water. And then we were just going super slow, but out of nowhere, boom, in one of the corners, boop, 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 he loses the car and lands in the barriers. And then because I was behind him, I don't know, I was taking his same line, the same shit happened to me. We didn't race.
Followed him in.
We didn't even start the race.
We didn't even make the formation
We didn't even make the formation lap, both of us. And he was like the championship leader in that moment. And it was just the two of us, so we had to go in the car to Oscar, bro.
That's funny.
Hey, thanks for sharing that, because that's hilarious.
Yeah, we have a lot of people say that he's like amazing and he's going to be great, so it's really cool to hear stories.
Yeah,
about him
mega job
there.
yesterday as well, right?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, big shout out for him, and Lando too.
Yeah, I know. And where were we from before?
Yeah, I think we're in 2019. We're getting towards Formula 2 now.
Yeah, so I did. Sorry, it's been a long.
No, this is a good episode.
Story.
This is loose and time.
Episode,
sometimes it's really nice just to hear a raw story. Like we don't like doing interviews where it's like, what's this? What's that? What's this? What's it? We genuinely just want to sit back, have a chat, and learn. Yeah. And this is great.
And I've learned a lot today.
You're getting really truthful insight on
it's great.
Racing career. Because perhaps another story, they could also be truthful on their insight, but it's just like, so I did 2019 and 2020 there and there and there and there, and that's it, because we had the budget, we had everything, and that's cool. But no, like my story could, in that sense, at least financially speaking, I could like give you some troubling insight on it.
Yeah, no, it's great for us to hear, and I think the people at home need to hear it as well, because I mean, like I said, everyone assumes that there's so much money, but it's not the case for everyone. We know Lewis didn't have the richest family, for instance. So yeah, it's nice to hear it from you. Yeah,
exactly. So for example, 2019, I didn't. We didn't have the full budget, but we had the budget for let's say unto the equator of the championship, and that was basically it. Once we got to the round 6, then because we were in the hopes that we were gonna continue. My dad was gonna continue raising money, and his business was gonna continue to grow, but it didn't. So when we got to like round 6, the team was like, okay, can we continue? Are you gonna pay? And we're like, yeah, we'll do it. But then we ended up not being able to.
Oh no.
So yeah, so that was like, let's say half a season, 2019.
And you had to pull out.
Yeah, I had to pull out of the championship.
Yeah.
I think I did 6 rounds out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was decent amount.
How do you feel at that time when you know that you can race and you know that you can do it, but it's just the money that...
It was fine. I didn't feel bad for myself. I didn't feel bad for anybody no. It was because I know that the whole start of it anyways was just a dream, and it was just based on my dad's love basically, and also both my parents and my family, my sisters as well. Yeah. It was just the love that they had to me, and that was basically everything that was pushing the dreams to go to move forward. And if it didn't work out, then like I was like, how could I not be grateful? You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like,
yeah.
It's better than nothing, and because of, you know, the idea that's behind it, you know, it's bigger than life. It's bigger than how could I ever, you know, be sad that, you know, that they weren't able to continue fulfilling the dream, like,
for sure. Yeah.
That's a really nice mindset to have, and I can tell that you're close to your family, because like you said, they're sat downstairs in the hotel right now having a drink. Like, I think that's really important when you have a really high intent. When you do something of such high intensity like racing, you need a really solid unit around you of people. So I think that's really special that you have them as a family. Yeah,
thank you. That's really where my gift is. It's not, or also, for example, my sponsors. We haven't talked about them yet, but that's really, in my story, the gift that I've had, which is the love that my family has to me and towards the dream, and that's really where all the the meaning is, basically.
Yeah. And then we're getting towards F2 now.
Yeah. So, well, then it was still a bumpy ride. I'll really summarize it now quicker. So 2019 did half a season, financial issues. 2020, COVID, didn't race at all. Not even karting.
Yep.
But then 2021, again, my dad, after COVID, was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, got another business opportunity, brought up some cash, and similar story to 2019, not 2019, not for the whole season though. Just we did again, initiating with half the season, and then we would see if we can continue bringing up the cash. We were unsuccessful with that again. So I did another half a season in 2021, and then that's by the way, I'm just gonna give you another insight on something that perhaps you guys didn't really know.
Yeah.
But Formula Regional, you guys know the championship,
yeah,
right?
we know a bit about it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's great to be saying this, but that championship can be so bullshit sometimes, man. Like, yeah, because this politically speaking, you can have a car, a chassis, literally a chassis, and to what it's speculation, but it's, let's say, like generally accepted speculation in the paddock. Even though you're gonna go talk to the championship or to the people, they're obviously gonna neglect it.
Yeah.
But this is information that, you know, like I said, generally speaking, drivers know it in the grid in Formula Regional. That chassis can really differ from one to another. And especially, you know, in I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be mean to the Tatus, which is the fabric, the ones that make the chassis.
Tatus, that's who Chloe was talking about in Formula F1 Academy.
Yeah.
Or was it before that?
Well, they use an F4 car, don't they, in F1 Academy? So
yeah, but she was saying there was 2 different chassis. One of them was a Tatus chassis.
Yeah.
And then there was another one.
First generation, second generation, something like that.
He knows it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's probably, but that's because like each spec, like Tatus, there's one spec, and then they go, and then the next generation is like a new generation of chassis, basically. Yeah. But one thing that does affect is, like, for example, COVID, right, 2021, or 2020, the factories that were producing these chassis didn't have the same, you know, in the iPhones that, for example, there was a shortage because there was
when they ran out of iPhones.
They ran out of iPhones. Yeah. Same thing happens in racing, you know. Same thing happens in the factories that are making these cars. They're running out of materials. They're running out of shit because the whole world was going crazy back then, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, they weren't giving the most quality built chassis that year. And that 2021, I had a car that honestly was just mega slow. The chassis was shit, basically. I was like, in Paul Ricard, I was 3 seconds off pole, which is Gregory Salsi, and which was like the 5th round. 2019, which was my first year in single-seater that I just come up from karting into single-seater racing. Super level that championship as well. Like I said, Oscar Piastri was pole, Paul Ricard. I was 4/10 off him. In my first year, my 4th round ever, like ever in a single seater. That year I had 2021, so like 2 years after, I was older. I was 19 instead of being 17, like in 2019. And I also had done more rounds, you know, after like 1 round, 1 track, 2 years after, and I was like 2.5 seconds in relatively slower, which makes no sense.
No, yeah.
Which is, so yeah, so that year as well was really shit because of that. Because I did half the season, barely could have done it anyways, and all for nothing because I was just completely in the back of the grid no matter what I do.
That's really tough.
And I couldn't be saying anything, but that's the truth, you know. The truth is, and I want to speak the truth.
Of course.
You can't do anything.
It's your story, like your story to be told. Like people should know.
You know what?
The truth.
And
you should.
Thank you. And you should actually talk about this a bit with Gabi Bortoleto, see what he has to say with it. Because I actually know him because he was my teammate initially for that year, 2021. He was initially going to be my teammate in that team. It was called DR.
Right.
Which they had just like they bought a complete new fleet of chassis, 2021 chassis.
Yeah.
And it was me, Gabi, and another driver, and we all 3 had like new cars. And we were just like, I remember Paul Ricard in the test, preseason test, because he initially had signed up with this team, but we did the preseason test. Paul Ricard, again 3 seconds away from pole, and I was like we were within 2/10. Like Gabi was like maybe 1 or 2/10 quicker, but we were still like 3 seconds basically off, or 2 seconds and something. And little you know, like literally a month after when the championship was supposed to start, the first round was supposed to start, he went to another team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But not necessarily because the team is bad. It's just because, you know, these type of things can happen when you have one chassis that isn't as good as the other one, you know.
So this is where, like, my knowledge probably is limited a little bit. I mean, as far as I know, so moving forward to F2 now, we're under the impression that the cars are all the same under the hood, but then the aero can change. Do you have issues like this with the chassis in F2 as well?
That's the thing. Like I said, I'm talking about a very sensitive topic here, because we're talking about, you know, quality management in a whole freaking company, right? A manufacturer.
Yeah.
But Formula 2, no. Dallara makes a much better job in being consistent with her chassis, with their products.
Okay.
So in Formula 2, that doesn't really happen.
And what you were saying about 2019, that's more timing related, right? Because of COVID and problems in the factories and stuff
as well.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. Even though, like I said, you can't completely, or perhaps you could, but they're not gonna like the manufacturer is not gonna like create like, I don't know, like a test, and they're gonna put one driver and the same driver just go on one car and go to the other, and then say, okay, you know what, this chassis, you're right, and confirm that the chassis is not working. They're not gonna do that because it's like they can't do that, you know, because otherwise they lose so much cash.
Yeah.
But that is the case, and like I said, maybe ask him, maybe ask Gabi when it comes on.
We will.
What do you think about that? Because, you know, he was with me. Like I said, we were both eating shit basically. So yeah, and then F2, that doesn't really happen. Like I said, different manufacturer, Dallara. Perhaps it could happen, but really on a more micro level. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're talking about maximum between one chassis and another. Perhaps one is built a bit differently, because obviously chassis can never be built exactly the same, you know. But there's much more consistent with Dallara, Formula 2 and Formula 3. So yeah, so 2021, it was a shit show basically. Even though in that moment because we had the budget to do those 2 races in Euro Formula, but we didn't have the budget to do a FIA F3 championship. But my dad was like still pushing because he first had like I said, the dream imprinted on his forehead, and like he would get into places that, you know, get into opportunities with teams or whatever that he didn't know if it was gonna work or not, but he was still like paving the path for the idea.
Yeah. Businessman.
So in this context, that's what he was doing. Like he was saying, okay, you know what, we're gonna do FIA F3 with you guys next year, but let's do these 2 rounds in this championship, and we'll prove to you guys that my son could be capable of doing it. And they're like, okay. But my dad didn't know if we were going to be able to do the FIA F3 year either. So he was sort of like risking it in that sense.
He was winging it a little bit. I like that though.
Because then you still have like a winter break. So then he was counting on that break to then like bring up the money and with any business opportunity that he could.
I love this whole like struggle, if you want to call it a struggle. Like I just love that.
It's been literally on the limit. Like I said, I could generically just summarize it. Every single step of the way in my motorsport career, it was always a struggle. Like it was never guaranteed at the beginning.
Yeah. But that's why it means so much to you now, right?
Yeah. Even now though, and I still have to get into that, but yeah. Well,
let's do that. Let's talk about now, because like I said at the beginning, that TikTok for me I thought was really special. I thought it was really raw, and you don't see that from drivers much. Like putting their emotions into a post. Yeah. So we want to know, like, where are you at with it?
Okay, where I'm at now, it's a bit of a consequence of last year. That was the last year that I had to talk about, which was 2022 F3 last year. To bring up the money for that year, my dad had to get into some business that on paper initially should have worked, but it didn't. And so the cash that he brought up, he used it for last year racing. Yeah. But since the business didn't work, like he's in debt basically. And so at the moment, he's currently like quite in debt, and so that's sort of carrying on to this year in the sense that even though he's not paying anything this year for my F3 racing, it's my sponsors, AIX Investment Group.
Your sponsor are covering your whole season. Yeah. Wow.
No, I mean basically most of it.
That's amazing, bro. That's amazing.
The bit that my dad had to. It's been really basically impossible because he's in debt for all of last year.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, what we're trying to do is find other sponsors to cover the rest of the part that he had to do, which was let's say like 10% of the contract, which was very little. Yeah. In the grand scheme of the actual contract, it's little. Yeah. And so it's kind of weird because, for example, I'm in Formula 2, but we can't afford the hotel room. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Bro, that's mad to hear. Yeah.
Do you know what? This is madness.
Like I said, it's really this year that I've been struggling the most because other years my dad hadn't been doing that bad. Really, the moment that we've been in this situation is this year perhaps, and when I literally started, so like 20. I'm sort of like going back to, I'm reminiscing on my roots of when I initially started karting. That was much more of a struggle. Then my dad was able to then cover a bit more, and like that, I'm talking about 2019, 2018, 2020, 2021. But it's because of last year that really got us a bit fucked basically. Yeah. And and this year, like you were sleeping an hour and a half away from the track. I had to sleep with my teammate that was in a motorhome, and because we have to wake up so early, I asked my teammate, could I stay with you? Because
bro, that's insane.
The motorhome was just next to the track, like 10 minutes away. So yeah,
that's crazy.
But even on top of all of that, I'm still racing Formula 2, and I have the blessing of the backing, of the financial backing, which is like I said, it's unimaginable because if you put it into perspective, into relative perspective, if it wouldn't have been because of them right now, we wouldn't, like on paper, we wouldn't have the budget even for a karting championship, really, basically.
So do you feel that pressure? Do you feel a weight on your shoulders that you want to perform in a race, not just for yourself, but for your dad? Because of kind of what he's sacrificed, I guess. Yeah.
Well, consciously, I try to filter it out. I don't want to drive with any burdens because it shouldn't be a burden. You know what I mean? It only should give me more power, give me more energy. Which I think ultimately it does, because like I said, the funny thing about love and about all of these very wholesome backgrounds is that love only brings more love. You know what I mean? It's not like love can create hate. It doesn't make any sense. The only thing that love does is incentive more love. And so, you know, the gut feeling that I have towards, you know, all my story and when I'm racing, and even if I'm going through all these struggles, isn't of ungratefulness. It's really just about, you know, converting all of that love into more love to give back. Yeah. So I don't race with a burden. I think I somehow, when I'm in the moment, I really do convert into something greater. Yeah,
and that's great, bro, that you can switch it off like that. Because me personally, I would be a fucking nervous wreck in that car. I just know that I would probably crumble if there was so much riding on it. But the fact that you can just switch into that professional, that shows that you're a pro athlete to me.
I am absolutely loving this episode. This has been amazing so far. At this point, we do want to get you on the sim.
Yeah.
So let's grab your sim lap. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And here we go. Brad's 3 laps start right here, right now on Pitstop. Oscar Piastri to beat, flying down into the first corner there. Beautifully negotiated. Now I must say the practice laps that we have seen have been quite quick. So no pressure, but we are excited to see what you can get out of here. Round the final corner at the end of lap 1. And we just won't know what that time is yet, but I think it's quite quick.
Brad, you've just done your 3 laps, man. Whereabouts roughly are you kind of hoping, do you think you may have come on the leaderboard? You got some stiff competition, I got to say.
At least give me better than Correa.
Better than Correa?
Because, yeah, he's more of my direct competitor at the moment. So
yeah.
I want to be close to him at the moment.
The good news is that you've beaten me and Jake.
Okay.
For a start. Yeah, so that's pretty good. You've also beaten Billy Munger.
Okay.
Billy Munger set a decent time. You've also beaten Freddie Hunt. Now, Freddie came and set a stonker of a lap, and you've beaten Freddie.
Okay.
You've also beaten Correa.
Oh, let's go, let's go. Okay, I can be happy now. You know, just make up the number, and that's it. I can be there already.
Yeah. You've also beaten Felipe Dragovic.
Okay, now I'm in the podium.
Brad Benavides. You set on the pit stop fastest lap of 1 minute 05.
Okay.
621. Brad Benavides, you are top of the pit stop fastest lap.
You need to show me on the time screen. There's no way. That's cool. Let's go. Oh, actually. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Dude, you genuinely
That's cool. That's cool.
Bro,
that's nice.
Oscar was our first guest on. He set an absolute stonker of a lap. No one has been able to beat him since. We've had that many guests on, and you've just gone top of our
And they were like, honestly, it was like how many laps of prep? It was
Bro,
like,
you did about 5 laps.
Yeah, it was
5
good. So it was
laps.
good. Yeah, I didn't. Did I overdo it or? I didn't do it. Cheers.
That is unbelievable. Well done, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
Believe it. Someone has finally picked Oscar.
Let's go.
New at the top of the pit stop fastest lap.
Now I gotta do it in Formula 2, man. Fuck.
Unreal.
It's time for me to do it there as well.
I am buzzing with that. Absolutely buzzing with that, mate. That is so quick.
I really adore you guys, man. Honestly, I really feel the way that you guys are so nice, and really, I really appreciate you guys. You're awesome.
Oh man, that means a lot, and thank you for coming down, buddy. Because you know, we know you're flying tonight, is it, or tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Back to Valencia.
Yeah.
So mate, it's been an honor having you here, buddy.
Cheers.
And this is a question I always ask everyone at the end. I quite like doing it now. If you weren't racing, it's probably an obvious answer, but if you weren't racing, what do you think you'd be doing?
I don't know if it was on here that you guys asked Oscar that, and he said about the engineers thing.
Yeah.
He would have. It was here, right? Yeah. I couldn't say I would have been an engineer because I don't know. I mean, I really liked it, but probably I'd be a swimmer, to be honest. Yeah. If I wouldn't have done racing, I would have just followed that path and would have been a swimmer. Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
What an amazing episode. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being so honest with us and having a great chat. I'm sure the audience would have really loved this one. Everyone watching, please do go follow Brad's socials. We can't wait to follow you for the rest of the year. Best of luck with everything.
Yeah. And a massive shout out to your sponsor as well. I think we need to let everyone know at home. You know, give them a shout out, man.
Yeah, honestly, they're like I said, they're a blessing this year, and they're really they're really willing to win, and I really sense that. And yeah, unfortunately, it hasn't come yet, but the power that they have behind is massive. Because given that they're basically, in my view, and many people in that area view, basically they're the most successful financial advisory firm out there. You know, like they're based in Dubai. You know the Burj Khalifa.
Yep.
They're like the highest. They're in the highest offices of that building. Like when I did the introduction, when I did like the press release for them of me doing the collaboration in this project with them, I did it in their office. What's it called? Terrace.
Yeah.
Which is actually the highest office terrace in the world.
Above the clouds?
And the club. It was a club, bro. Above the clouds. The highest office terrace in the world. And I was doing Brad Benavides, the speech to the whole company, thanking them for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, they really mean business, and they really can guarantee, you know, their clients that they're gonna manage their wealth properly. They're the best out there to do it. And so if that's what's behind me, you know, I really can sense that success, and success only brings more success, you know. So I have that, you know, power behind me, and I'm trying to convert it into really good success and wins. So
mate, that's so good to hear. And you know, like with every guest that we have on the pod, now that we feel like we know you a little bit, we'll be rooting for you every race weekend. I can't believe you've just gone top on our leaderboard. So fucking, I hope Oscar's pissed off about that. So we can celebrate that, and we've also got something else to celebrate too.
Yeah, we do. I need to get it. Not only do we have someone top of the Pitstop fastest lap, but the YouTube has also hit 70,000 subscribers. So let's celebrate that. Yeah!
Let's go!
70,000 subscribers!
Bro!
Oh, we didn't think
we have to clean all this up.
Big men.
Good. Ladies and
Brad,
gents,
thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers.
Brad, you're a legend. Thank you, bro.
Cheers.
Yeah! Brad, thank you so much. That was great. Really appreciate it. Fucking hell! I didn't think about that.
Are you guys gonna do another one? Gabby?
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, we might have to. I've got 4 of them.
I'll help you guys clean it.
No, it's fine, man. We'll hoover it.
Honestly, bro, I want to. I would love to just come down and say hello to your parents.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just like on the way out.